pioneers? Holy cow! Why do you all look young? Oh. Now, before we begin, we have a pioneer in here who's told me this afternoon how pioneers begin their parties. And they begin the parties by saying, so not to be outdone, enjoy yourself this afternoon. You know, I see all of you, blah, 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 blah. Some of you I see more than others. Doesn't matter. But enjoy yourself. You know, and the great thing is, we all made it. And the other thing, I believe, most of us are still talking to each other. And that may be more important than we made it. But seriously, over the years, we've lost a lot of good pioneers from this building over the years, for whatever reason. And while we've got new pioneers to be moved in, we still contact with a lot of pioneers around that are still here. And we just had a good time for the last
15 years.
15 years. Holy cow. Kathy. Before we begin, I want to introduce and have fun with some folks. We all know Pioneer Pat. Now, the genesis of this began a couple months ago. I went into the Hooks and Books, Hooks and Needles group, and I made a comment, and it said, quote, maybe we should have a Pioneers party of the originals. Well, here we are. Thanks to Pat and others who have really contributed today.
Didn't catch any of that.
In a few minutes, we're going to ask each of you to share a story of the building with the group. A short story.
Entertaining.
Yeah, there you go.
It can be funny, it can be serious, but all of us have a story to tell about us in the building, or both. Now, the last story we're going to tell, Jeff is going to tell it. Because when you hear the story, you're going to understand why I saved Jeff for last. But Jeff and I will tell it. Yeah. Is that fair?
Good, go for it.
So, Emily, we want to thank you for all the pictures. Where are the picture
I
books?
have albums everywhere with all the trips we've taken from 15 years ago, so look at
And you can look at yourself 15 years ago,
Or not.
10 years ago, 8 years ago.
all the activities.
All the activities, thank you, Emily. Thank you. I needed to have the words for that. Some of the books, pictures, reminiscing of old times,
They're on the table.
Vernon, residents that no longer with us. And the good news, I have an announcement to make. You know, we were talking this morning about doing this every 15 years. Well, we've solved that problem. Joe has volunteered to lead the effort 15 years from now.
Here, here. 15 years.
And Rosa has backed him up on that. So we have someone sleep tonight because 15 years from now, they're on.
Mark it on your calendar.
Send me a note. I think what I want to do now is get into some fun. I've asked a couple of you, but I want all of you who have a story to tell to begin and keep it short. But let's have a good time and let's leave here Well, after Jeff's thing, we may not be talking to each other, that's beside that. That's
Lasted
beside.
15 years.
Lots of things go on. So with that, I'm going to ask Maureen if she will share a story with us.
But I gotta get my prop first, that's in the kitchen. Okay, I'll be right here. My story begins 15 years ago when I first moved in. I didn't know anybody. And I'm sorry. Pass this around. I didn't know anybody. And I was worried that I wouldn't make friends with anyone. And finally, they all said, oh, there's so much to do. And there was. And if you all remember, there was a little restaurant, a little cafe that was in the clubhouse. And it was open early in the morning. They had breakfast and they had lunch. And I closed about 3 o'clock, but there was no dinner. And at that point, we didn't have too many restaurants in Lansdowne the way we do now. So this little place was really handy because it had milk, had butter, eggs, bread, and it had toiletries, and they also had a rack of cards, occasion cards, that you could get there, buy there, and mail. So I thought it was really handy. And then one day they decided, we don't have a big oven here, so we can't make dinners. But they decided, what?
I know the story.
Oh, no, you should tell it.
It takes longer.
I'll try to keep it short. So they decided one day a week, and they picked Thursday, they would have a dinner at the little cafe over here. It was called Robert's Emporium. I have the menu going around with the price listing on it. So they, for $10 a night, they would put all the tables together and all the chairs and squeeze as many people in. And it was $10 and everybody ate the same meal. They made one big meal and everybody had salad, the dinner, and a dessert for $10. And then they had wine, red or white, for $3 a glass, and it was a big glass. So we all had fun doing that. And then gradually, we thought, well, when the clubhouse gets extended, because it was only one half of the clubhouse then, we were going to get a new restaurant. And the rumor had it that we were going to have these people run the restaurant. But Mr. Checky decided that he was going to have a friend of his from Dante's Italian restaurant to be the manager over here in La Pergola. So we never did see these people again, but we really missed having those Thursday nights when everybody would come, and it was a lot of fun. So that's my story.
Good story, thank you. Sue?
One of the memories I have, since we parked right outside here on side A, was walking in that door. Mine still boggles with moving in. And Joyce pops out the door. Come on in, we have mix and mingle. I didn't know where I was anyway. And I said, another time. And Steve and I kept walking.
Oh, I knew that one for Joyce. Yeah, well, I ran into Joyce, and she made what they call joy juice. Well, I did not know what joy juice was until I tried to find my house. So I just knocked on everybody's door and asked if I lived there, because we got some from, it was similar to that, but there was no color to the punch, so. Well, those of us who drank joy juice, we know what it felt like.
First of all, thank you for just this gorgeous spread and all your work and planning. I moved in 2 days after the building opened. I had sold my house out from under me in Florida and was at my daughter, so I was eager to get in. And
believe it or not, we had no mail service at that time. You had to drive to Leesburg to get your mail, and it seemed like an eternity. It was probably only a couple of weeks. Maybe some of you that moved in later have a better idea when that ended. But my memory is of Gail Tulin, who was the beginning of all of our activities. My furniture was coming into my place and they're yelling out numbers. She comes in and sits down. Now on Monday night we're doing mix and mingle, and on Wednesday we're having coffee and we're having game night, and she organized all of those. And unfortunately she is no longer with us, but she was the basis for the social life in this building that's gone on to be what it is.
Is that Gail?
I wanted to add a little bit about that because the building opened in May and I didn't move in until July. So things had started a little bit. But what I remember, I know Gail started the activities, but she also put pieces of paper on tables. We came in here like for morning coffee, I think it was. She put paper on the table with, you could write your own heading or you could add your name to a heading that was already there. So they had things like travel group, that's what I put. And we actually started the travel group in Lansdowne Woods in Potomac Ridge. We were the first to do it, and then they asked me if I would extend it to the whole community, as I did. I had bridge, and we had things like movie night, things that we don't have anymore, but we had, not movie night, but going out to movies, going out to dinners, things like that. But you would put your name on the list, and anybody that was interested in doing that activity just signed up, and we got together and we did it. So I thought that was a great way to get started. And I knew nobody either. We moved in, and it was a great way to meet people.
Emily mentioned the travel group. Well, a bunch of us, maybe 20, we went to Egypt early on in the history of the building. And I took a picture of the group by the pyramids. Somehow ITI got a hold of this picture and they put it in the Washington Post. They had a full page ad twice of Potomac Bridgers in Egypt.
Good advertising.
No one knew where Egypt was. Remember that old radio show, Doctor, I have a contestant in the balcony? Remember that? Yes, you don't, okay.
Pete, we used to have a Wednesday morning get-together every single week. And Cindy and Jeff's first grandson in his stroller was always here. And Steve Luster would go out and get bagels for everyone every Wednesday morning. And we were so bonded as a group. It was terrific. Wait, okay.
Shortstop. Since it's back here, I want to tell you about the first New Year's Eve party that we had here. Now, you know, we all said we're going to have this New Year's Eve party and we hope that people can stay awake long enough to get there. So we served dinner and we had a good time and everything was going well, and then the ball dropped and we said, Happy New Year, and zap, we were all out of here. We had to clean up.
Not all, everybody else left except those who were left cleaned up.
Well, yeah, but those that were left cleaned up, and we were in bed, we were on the cleanup party, we were in bed at 12:30, so you know how fast that went.
On cleanup, nothing has changed. I see a notebook over here for Lee.
Yes, very important to have. And do you remember also we were invited to go to the National Conference Center every Friday night on the bus and have dinner. Remember that? But that's not what I'm going to tell you about. I feel very, very fortunate that we are here. We were retired in Lancaster and very happy. But Don had a stroke, and so the kids said, you have to move near one of us. Our son was here and our daughter was on the Outer Banks, so obviously we came to Virginia. However, we bought our house and our moving van came and we got here at the same time they did. And they were early. They said we can't go in until 9 and it was 8 o'clock. So we all waited down at the big gate until 9. And then they said, sorry, you can't move in because you didn't reserve the elevator. And I said, well, who was supposed to tell us that? And they said, your sales associate at the time, the sales office would have told you and who to call and so forth. So we had to go into storage for 2 months. And we couldn't move in until August. 2 months we had to be homeless. And John had had a stroke, so he didn't know what was going on, and I barely knew what was going on. Anyway, I talked to, remember our assistant, Jerry Weeks? Well, we had ordered a mattress to come in, and I had to arrange for the delivery. And they don't start delivering until 4 o'clock. So anyway, I did what the manual told me. I called J&K, and she said, if they're there by 4:15, you'll be okay. Well, they got there, and they called the office here, and Jerry Weeks said, absolutely, they may not come in now. So I went down the next day, and I said, why did you send them away? I said, I had arranged with J&K to let them in, and she said, well, why in the world would you call J&K? I said, because that's what the manual says. And she said, no, it doesn't. I want to see that manual. So I went and I got the manual and I took it to her. And she couldn't believe that that's what you were supposed to do. It says very distinctly, you must arrange any deliveries with J&K. Right. So we finally got moved in and I'm still wearing a smile.
I've got a moving story too.
Oh, somebody else? Okay.
I was waiting. I was holding my breath.
I don't know what he's gonna
do.
You were waiting or waiting?
How are the Bears?
Great, go Bears.
You wear this and try to talk.
Well, Pat and I had kind of a unique move-in too, and that's what triggered this. We were probably some of the few people that owned 2 condominiums in Leisure World of Virginia at one time. Pat and I moved in here, and we were the 6th people to buy into Blue Ridge, and we lived there for 2 years. And at and they started the sales on this property, and we were in 1012 over there, facing north, and they always went into the shade long about October and came out in April. And for some other reasons, like they had units here that they didn't have over there, and we said, well, we're relatively young. Let's get a place that we want to move into and live here. So we signed a contract 2 years before we moved in here. We signed the contract in December, and I guess it was 2002 probably, something like that. So we watched all the construction that was going on out here. And I'll tell you, it was a mess. If you want to look at that, there were construction trailers all over the middle part out here. Bales of fiber optic cable. It was a mess. I called up Pat Rhodes and I said, Pat, I'm looking out the window of my 10th floor condominium over here, and I said, it looks like a scene from Omaha Beach the day after D-Day. So they did some things to spice it up. So along comes moving time, nearly 2 years later, it's the summer of 2004, Pat was on chemotherapy, and right in the middle of the chemotherapy. She had said she had 3 of those treatments, and I was getting ready for a hip replacement in January. And so because we had these 2 units and we settled on them, we said, well, let's start moving some things over. And you know, the sign that's on those valet carts that says, do not take out of the building. We waited until the sun went down. So we got a few of the movable things that started bringing it over. Well, that always gets bigger than you had planned. So one night we're going, it's uphill, I can tell you, from Blue Ridge to Potomac Ridge. And we're moving a few things over. And I started pushing it up the hill, and I'm not doing well. Pat, who's just had a chemo treatment a couple days before, says, well, let me do this. And I said to her, Pat, if I let you push this cart up the hill, I said, your friends will stone me. That's the moving in story.
Okay, now I have one little thing to say. Yeah, Jeff and I moved in, well, we slept here the first night. We almost didn't have a bed too, because the bed didn't come till 4:30, and it wasn't on the schedule. We're the only people there. It's not on the schedule. But after a little fighting and arguing, we at least got our bed. But it was brutal. Aisha was brutal, wasn't she? Yeah. My grandson, when they mentioned I had my grandson crawled out of the room one day. And Jerry came running out and said, he doesn't have shoes on. He's not allowed to wear shoes. And I stood there saying he doesn't own a pair of shoes. He's a baby. But that's the way it was in the beginning. And I heard someone mention Joyce. Well, when I first met Joyce, Joyce was a character. I think everybody must remember her. She was such a character. But I met her and she said to me, you know, I like your husband. I said, oh, yeah, he's a nice guy. She said, no, I really like him. When you die, I'm going to marry him. But yeah, she was such a character, though. That's the way Joyce was. But anyway, we were the second one to close on our house, on our condo. Elaine Taylor, who we should have gotten, is right around the corner. She was number 1, but she didn't move in because they lost her furniture. And it was somewhere in West Virginia, so she had to wait till they found her furniture. So I think we all have these little problems. No, she's not here today. Wait a minute.
I have a move-in story. We must have arranged to move in on a day that Aisha and Jerry were not here, because they scheduled 2 of us to move in the same day, and we moved in on the same floor, and that was Donna Hanson. And we shared an elevator coming into the building, and the day after that she said, we need to have a Red Hat group in this building. And she volunteered to be the queen, and the Red Hat group was established, and I see many of the original Red Hatters here. And I just wanted to mention that Donna is well, and she is living in the Villages part-time, and in Chicago part-time, and she's very happy. And Kathy just told me her unit's for sale, so I didn't know that.
I wish I could buy that sucker, I'll tell you.
418. Unit 418.
Do you have any friends?
When I moved in,
one of the very first persons that I met was Maureen O'Connor, and she's still one of my favorites. But I really enjoy your poems, and I know you've heard this one, but it's my favorite, and I've always shared it. She wrote it in year 205.
2000.
Yeah, 2000. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't come from a secured place, so the security gate was kind of a thing to get used to. But this was the night before Christmas. Leisure World was all lit, but the guard in the gatehouse was having a fit. There was somebody outside he wouldn't let in. So what if he had a white beard on his chin? He was dressed all in red and was driving a sleigh, but security said, "You can't enter this way." He begged and he begged, he pleaded to give him a pass. No, the guard said, "I'll be out on my ass." Seems the people who lived there had so much to do. No call was made allowing him through. So he drove past the grove and down a long trail. The fence didn't stop him. He jumped over the rail. He was finally inside, and it looked different this year. A couple of buildings just seemed to appear. He climbed through the night up a very long chain. By morning, there's Santa on top of a crane. "Merry Christmas," he shouted. "Happy New Year to you. God's blessed you all with this beautiful view." Next, he shouted his message to all down below, saying, "I'll tell you something you really must know. My sleigh full with presents is not here with me. There'll be no gifts for you under the tree. So I'm telling you now, next year on this date, if you want me to visit it, call the God at the gate." Oh, I love that. I still show it to people.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
I have a joke.
Anybody else other than a joke?
Well, I ran into a lady the other day who was celebrating her 100th birthday. And she told me that she was going to the mall and she was going to have a spending spree and buy whatever she needed. So she did. She went in to Macy's and bought a beautiful red hat. Maybe she was going to join the red hat ladies. I don't know. But she went back to the bus corner waiting for the bus. And a big gust of wind came and blew her skirt up. And, you know, she wasn't really aware of it until a young man approached her and said, "Excuse me, madam, but your skirt is blowing up and you're showing things that you might not want to have seen." So she says, "Funny, I'm 100 years old, and what you see here is 100 years old. But what's on my head is a brand new hat, and I'm not going to let go of it."
When my husband and I moved in here in 2004, September, October, we were both still working. And so one morning when he went out the front door to go to his car to go to work, he saw an animal out there, and it looked like a big fat cat. But the closer he got to it, he saw that it was a big fat raccoon. So I think they both scared each other and it took off, but that was a funny thing that happened to him. And on the floor that we lived on when we moved in, right next door to our unit, was a plastic sheet over the hallway because we were the first one on that side of the wing.
Who else? That's it? You know, Sue reminded me of someone that was here. In fact, Cindy also mentioned this person. I'm not going to use the last name, we all know. Her name was Joyce. And wherever we've lived around the country, there's a Joyce. Maybe more than one Joyce. Maybe a Joyce and a friend. But anyway, the first year we had a pre-Thanksgiving party, if I remember correctly, or a potluck party. Some of you know what I'm going to say. Have patience. Joyce went across the street, either to Wegmans or Harris Theater, and she convinced them that us old people needed a turkey from them for Thanksgiving. Well, she brought it back. She brought it back here, and she was all upset. They wouldn't cook it. So probably our stove's been used, what, 5 or 6 times? Joyce used it at least once. So there's a character in Joyce, and you know, all of us miss Joyce to be brought with her because she was here for a number of years and left us. So before I introduce,
I wanted to say one other thing. Yes. Lou Ray. Everybody remember Lou Ray? Well, first of all, she had a beautiful voice, and I don't. Her cookies, her coconut macaroons. That's her recipe that I made today. I said she can't be here, so let her coconut macaroons be here. But it's definitely her recipe.
Thank you, Cindy.
Anybody else? Before you leave, the activities committee has, go ahead, excuse me. Not to worry.
Well, in the beginning, when people were just starting to move in, we had the A side, which was open, and the B side, which wasn't completed yet. So everybody was moving into the A side. Well, after a while, it just got to me, and I'm a practical jokester, that the A side was eating too much and was tilting the building. So we had to hurry up and open up the B side in order to level it off. You know how many people bought that joke? Between that and wherever you go, make sure you're back here by 9:30. Because they locked the gate. Scared the hell out of more people.
Everybody believed?
Because I said it in such a serious manner.
And people were panicking. Oh my God, I didn't know we can't be out.
You know, there's a little memento of today and the last 15 years. Activity, and thanks to Emily and the Activities Committee, please avail yourself of a pen as you leave. You got these at a discount. There's no ink in this one. But that's okay. We reminisce about that. But before we wrap up, any other? Not hearing any. Get up here. Get up here. Now this, I'm going to give a little history, and Jeff will tell the tale. When we all moved in, many residents had never lived in a high-rise or even an HOA before. And they left their 4,000 square foot home trying to cram everything into 1,500 square feet. Some of them didn't make it. So the Activities Committee decided we were going to have the auction of the century. Everybody's shaking their heads, okay. So, and Jeff and I were asked to be the auctioneers. So with that, go.
we would auction literally anything and everything. We kibitzed with them, we verbally insulted some of them to get more money out of them, but we got it. Boy, did we get it. We bought the first color TV that hung on the wall before that one. We bought, like I said, we just bought a lot of things for the building that we raised money for with these auctions. And we just had a heck of a time, we really did. The place would fill up, everybody had their little signs. And we made lots of money. Go for it, Peter. Yeah, it was the leftovers from your unpacking.
From unpacking, you didn't know what to do with them. We said, hand them in.
I think most of them were family jewels they hadn't seen in 30 or 40 years. So when Jeff and I got hold of some of these family jewels, I think it's very fair to say a number of folks in the building did not speak to us for a period of time. And you know, we had the back of that room 5 feet of stuff. And I almost said to Jeff, we're almost going to be here for 3 days with this. We started, I believe, at 6:30, and at 9 o'clock we were still pumping this stuff out. But those are the good times we've all experienced here. And boy, you know, there's no reason we can't continue the good times. We're all talking to each other, kind of. Those that weren't talking to Jeff and I for a while, they're giving up and talking to us.
The reason why it was so late, so much stuff, I was laughing too hard. Because between the two of them, they were demonstrating how do you use this item, and they had us in stitches. I mean, I was laughing. I enjoyed it so much.
You may be the only one laughing, some of them left the room. Some of the stuff was downright awful. And someone had to say that. And it was awful. Is that fair? I mean, I'd be embarrassed to bring it in here. But anyway.
But if you also remember, a lot of people donated some of that stuff to the kitchen. We set up our kitchen on a lot of your donations because you had so much extra stuff, silverware. I mean, it's still there, all your serving pieces. And we do appreciate having them because we did it when we first moved in and haven't done it since.
We haven't had another auction either, have we?
Nope. Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't want to stand up. Okay. I'm so happy that we live in Potomac Ridge. What happened to us is, before we bought the condo, they said, well, we want to give you a weekend over at the Magnolias. Okay? So my husband and I went over and spent the weekend in the Magnolias. The first Magnolias, I believe it was. That night, we had a horrible thunderstorm. Horrible. My husband snored and slept through the whole thing. I was awake. It was pouring rain coming in the windows. It was everything. And lightning and thunder. I just didn't sleep at all. And I thought, oh my golly, I don't want to live here in Magnolias. I'm too close. It's too close to the river. So we stayed there for 2 nights. And then we decided to buy in Potomac Ridge. So I just wanted to tell you that I'm so thankful I'm not here instead of Magnolias.
Anyone else? If not, hey, I'll see you all in 15 years.
We will, 15 years.
5 years. Yeah, I agree. 5 years. We may not be talking 5.